You know, I love my intro music. America. But when you think about what we're doing here in America, we've had prophets in the land who've said, we need to check ourselves. After every major tragedy, they say, we need to check ourselves. But we won't. We won't listen. And now we're looking at Kermit Gosnell. You're inside the Beltway with Star Parker here on Urban Family Talk. You can tweet me at Star Parker. You can visit our website, urbancure.org, where we stream live, and you can tell your friends about it. Urban Family Talk will have that website up very, very soon here, and then you'll be able to go directly there, and you'll be able to send your friends directly there. But also you can Facebook me. Facebook.com Star Parker for Freedom. And I see your comments are coming in, and we're going to get to as many as we can, but we can't get to them because I really need a day to tell us about Kermit Gosnell, as much as I don't want to hear the details again. And I already have my little handkerchief out. And but this is in Philadelphia. It's a trial in Philadelphia. And I want to let you know that Gardner is not only a guest today. I'm introducing you today because she has Pro-Life Fridays here on Urban Family Talk inside the Beltway with Star Parker. So she'll be here on Fridays. Every now and then I might be here with her, but as I've outlined our week, we have Ministry Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we look at traditional values, limited government, free markets, and the things that we promote here through CURE, the Center for Urban Renewal and Education. But on Fridays, we're talking about this major crisis, this crime against humanity. I wonder if somebody dedicated Fridays every single Friday during slavery, on slavery, over and over and over again, the way that Elijah Lovejoy did, would we have ended it sooner? Elijah Lovejoy lost his life as an abolitionist newspaper writer who just over and over and over again kept reminding society it may be legal, but it's not lawful. I wonder if we had had a Pro-Life Friday during the time of Hitler, and he was rising to power, and the people in power here, that controlled Washington, that controlled the White House, the Democrat in charge then, who didn't want anything to do with getting involved in the war, getting involved in anything. Boatloads of Jews were coming over. We were hearing stories trickling out, but we didn't want to be involved. We didn't want to be bothered. We didn't have time interrupting our lives. Then you get hit. And God says, check yourself through his prophets, and we want to dismiss them. Wonderful God-fearing men like Jerry Falwell and Pat Robinson and others who even after September 11th said, we need to check ourselves. We're killing children in the womb. You don't think God sees that? You don't think he hears that cry? No, we don't want to do anything about it. Now we have a horrible, horrible situation in our land with abortion. And the picture of it is in Kermit Gosnell. Day, you went to Philadelphia. You went to this trial. Tell these folks who Kermit is. When you mentioned Kermit, because I said his name wrong earlier, like Kermit, just remember the frog. It's like, ill creature. No wonder his name is Kermit. Gosnell.
Yeah, and that's how I remembered his name too. I just thought it gives you a picture of basically what this man is, and of course he's so much worse than that. Dr. Kermit Gosnell, and I use that term very loosely. Dr. Kermit Gosnell is a West Philadelphia doctor. He is from 3801 Lancaster in West Philadelphia. For anyone who has ever seen that building, it's just a really atrocious story. The fact that this is a man who is in a black community. He's a black doctor in a black community, and he preyed on women. A lot of times women who are in desperation and despair found themselves pregnant, didn't know what to do, went to him, many of them, of course, with an abortion in mind, abortion-minded. And, of course, he obliged them. This man is a millionaire, made a lot of money off of black people, off of our sisters and brothers, their children. And he basically ran this abortion clinic. He is charged with killing a mother and 7 infants. Now, we have to know that 8 of his staff, including his wife and sister-in-law, have already pled guilty to their crimes and what they did, their part. But he is on crime right now in Philadelphia. He's on trial in Philadelphia for
because he's not. Because he decided I'm not pleading guilty.
He said I'm not going to plead. Now this is how this whole thing, how I see it. You have to picture. It's like picture this. You remember the years ago the old what are they, the Golden Girls, and you remember the older lady, Michelle Getty, her last name was Estelle Getty, would say, to her daughter Dorothy, picture this, Italy. Okay, well, I feel, picture this. Here is a man who delivers children born. These are children, many times very viable children. The youngest viable child, from what I understand in America today, is a child that was born at 5.5 weeks. That little girl today is 7 years old.
Wow.
Okay. So the thing is, these are viable children. A child in this country, in Pennsylvania, has to be 23 weeks or younger in order to be aborted. And that's a really sad thing, but that's what the law is.
Okay.
Of course, he was aborting children 24 weeks and up. And the thing is,
so what we call late-term abortion for people that have not followed this issue at all, and they hear in the passing that we are trying to abolish late-term abortion and incrementally, and then the pro-death people, because now they just are after Roe v. Wade. Yeah, we are, but these are ones that are viable.
Yeah, these are babies. Now, here's the thing: is that he delivers them born, and then once they're born, they're in warm hands. They're possibly taking their first breath, seeing their first glint of light. This is new life to be turned over and to have their spinal cords then snipped. And to kill these babies.
And he's been doing this for years.
He just got caught. He's been doing this for 30 years. And they estimate about 16,000 children he has killed. We have no idea.
Slow down.
We have no idea.
16,000?
That's an estimate, yeah. And we have no idea how many of them.
Let's pause.
Yeah, not terrible.
He has been in Philadelphia as a doctor in the Black community in one of the most vulnerable neighborhoods in Philadelphia, killing children.
That's what he does.
He's made millions killing children.
Yeah.
And there are estimates that there could be 16,000 in the 30 years. Now, I understand that when they went in, finally, after years of complaints from these girls of what they were seeing in there, they're going to get help. They're sickly in their heart. They don't know what to do. Roe v. Wade's national law. I know it's a bit, but I don't know what to do. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to. They said it was filthy.
It was filthy.
They said they had baby body parts as souvenirs on.
You have to on the shelf, and this. I'm sitting there in court. First of all, I've heard about all these things like you've heard. Now, first of all, if you're not in Philadelphia, you probably haven't heard very much about this because the media is really not covering it. So we have to do what we can do to get the word out. But this man had jars of severed baby feet on his, and I thought, why would do that? Like serial killer who collects body parts to remembrance of his crime. He had babies' bodies frozen in refrigerators. And you wonder, why would he do that? Of course, we know the baby body part business is big business.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's a whole nother show. And I'm hoping that as you take on Pro-Life Friday, that you're going to bring all of this. Because if you are serious for a Christian and with your Christianity, and you pastors, if you're serious about your pulpit and what God has asked you to do with that pulpit, you need to hear this.
Yeah.
You need to be here. You told me the room was empty. I mean, we have so much to talk about here, but that's why I'm just like, okay, wait a minute. I've got to take pause. 16,000. These girls are vulnerable. They're sick. And the thing is, I was there. I understand. Been there, done that, bought the lie. It wasn't until after the fourth time that I went into one of their so-called safe, legal, rare clinics that I had a gut instinct way down deep inside. There must be something wrong with this.
Yeah.
You're telling me these vulnerable girls walked in here and they see this filthy trap, and then he has babies up there, and they come out in horror after they've killed their child, and they couldn't get anything on this man until just recently, and he has the nerve not to even plead guilty.
Well, you know what? It's like pregnancy clinics across the country. Really, there is no one saying, there's no standard for cleanliness. They're not under the same rules and guidelines as hospitals or even fast food joints. None of those things. It's just that they go in there. The table's bloody. There's baby body parts, as I said. There are severed feet.
Yet all we hear is we're going back to the days of coat hangers.
Yeah.
This is the legal. Are y'all hearing her?
Yeah, this is legal.
No, she's there. She went there. She knows. Going down to the trial. No, go ahead. I'm not going to.
No, but to sit there, to be in court and hear some of these things, to look at people's faces and see that they're telling these horrible, atrocious stories that I'm getting all choked up and everything, thinking, how could they do such a thing to these beautiful children? But they're telling these horrible stories. There's no
No emotion.
emotion.
Yeah, just
there's
matter
no
of fact.
conscience.
They're
right?
testifying.
Yeah.
But now, and we can go on, but the testifiers are some of the people that pleaded guilty. Now this is part of their plea bargain, right? That they're trying to now not have to do the rest of their life in jail. So they're telling the details of what has happened
If everything wasn't
here.
so sad and so gruesome while you're sitting there, what I thought was gave me a little bit of chuckle is that his sister-in-law, who's really Pearl, his wife Pearl's foster sister, she's up on the stand and she's sitting up there and she's talking about, all this stuff that was going on and how it turned her stomach, how she left and then she went back because she needed the money and everything. She's living on the Gosnells free in one of his other apartment buildings. And the thing is, she's crying, saying that they're talking about the plea bargain agreement, and she's saying, I don't want to go back to jail. I was in jail for 3 months, and I don't want to go back. She's crying and everything. I'm sitting there thinking, no remorse for the child.
Right.
You're talking about yourself. You selfish woman.
Right.
You're talking about going through all of this, watching it for years that she's worked there, and her thought is for herself and what she might have to do to repay society for her crimes. And it just sickened me, but it was a little bit funny. I thought, I can't believe this woman is crying. I mean, I could see if she were crying saying, when I think back to what was done and the things, these children and how they suffered, none of that. It was about herself.
Yeah. Let's back up a minute. Let's look at how it got to the point that he actually got caught. I mean, we're talking about an environment, what we call pro-choice world. We're talking about the president of the country saying that's settled law. When he was asked about his position on pro-life during the first debate before he was elected the first time, he said that's above my pay grade. Now we're looking at the realities of what the left wants in terms of abortion. We're inside of a clinic that's filthy, that has baby parts in there, that is unregulated. The rest of even hospitals or fast food joints are. They've excluded themselves out of any normal type of environment that says if you're going to have this type of business, you are required to do certain things. I mean, I run a business. We have a business office. We can't even do anything without permission from the state or, certain things you can't do. And yet these folks are unregulated. But how did it get to the point that finally somebody said, let's turn the lights on in here? That then we started seeing his staff say, the option is go to jail, perhaps even death, or plead guilty. And they pleaded. What happened? What opened the door?
Well, it really had to do with drugs. We have to keep in mind that not about the babies. This woman, her name is Karnamaya Monger, who actually died. It was one of his victims who died. And she went in, of course, for an abortion. And things went horribly wrong when she was drugged. And then I drugged again. It turned out that she was overdosed. And that's what the case is all about now, whenever you hear her name. She was there with her family. And here's the thing. Now, let me just back up just a little bit. And just to understand, here's what the sister said of Gosnell, the fact that the black girls were ushered into one waiting room, and anyone who is not black was asked to wait on the next floor up. So I'm thinking this is like Old South now. So there's the black waiting room, and then there's the white and brown women waiting room, which is nicer and cleaner where they were waiting. So it's really atrocious. This man is a racist of the worst kind.
And he's black, claiming racist, claiming that they came out and to
horrible.
get him. Okay, but now let's go. Okay, so what happened now?
So the
drugs.
thing is that here, this woman now is going into cardiac arrest.
Okay.
She's laying there on a table. Now, I was there when the paramedic, now keep in mind, a paramedic has about the equivalent of associate's degree, maybe 2 years or so of schooling with regard to his training. And he was talking about how when he came and the woman's laying on the table, she had flatlined. She's in cardiac arrest. And they asked where was Dr. Gosnell, and they said, well, he was standing over in the corner with like his arms folded, and he was like watching. And of course, I'm thinking, wait, here's a man. And so this paramedic gets in there, and he starts working on this woman, pumping her, trying to get her to breathe, And I thought, here is the 2-year, this man with a 2-year equivalent college education. Then you have Gosnell over here with 8 years or more as a doctor, who's been a doctor for 30 some years, 31 years or whatever. And the thing is, why is this paramedic able to get her heart going and this Dr. Gosnell could not? Right. He's over there standing there. So I'm thinking, did he watch this woman die? Did he allow her to die? Right. But the thing is, she died. She came back. They went to put her in the ambulance, and of course, it's such a maze in there. It's a collection of, I think, 2 buildings or whether that are together, a maze of stairs and tiny hallways where they couldn't get her
totally
out.
unregulated.
Totally. So they went to take her out the back door, which is the where they had a handicap ramp. And of course, the back door is locked from the inside, so now people are running around trying to find the key to get this woman. This poor woman, I believe her life could have been saved. First of all, if someone had monitored, the person who gave her the drugs had no medical training. The person who had given her the drug, the anesthesia, had no medical training. So the thing is that she's taking drugs, but people that, like me, giving drugs to somebody. How crazy would that be?
Yeah.
And so anyway, she was taken out, and of course we know the end is that she died.
Right.
But what it did also, it opened up, people saying, wait, what's going on in here?
What's going on in here? They got in there and were horrified by what was seen. And I remember reading, because it's been a little while, this has been going a while. Most of you, it might be brand new to and say, what? When did this happen? Well, yeah, you're right. A lot of other cases get a whole lot of attention in the national press. But when you have a black doctor in a black neighborhood with poor black people doing horrible, horrible crimes against humanity in a country that says, we'll just look the other way. What do you mean? Those kids might be born poor anyway and going to welfare. He can get away with this kind of stuff. And he did. And it's tragic. And we're going to talk about it here on Inside the Beltway with Star Parker on Urban Family Talk. And we're going to talk about more of what they saw when we come back in a moment. You're Inside the Beltway with Star Parker here on Urban Family Talk. Got my hanky in my hand. We're talking about pro-life. It's Friday, and this particular Friday we're talking about Kermit Gosnell and what has been exposed up in Philadelphia. And unfortunately, it's not the only case. I mean, we know death in Chicago. We know death in Atlanta. We know all these girls are dying in these clinics while the left is saying the same thing. They're saying the same thing. Keep it safe, legal, rare. Keep it safe, legal, rare. Well, it's not rare. It's not rare. And it's not safe. And we're hearing how unsafe it is. Imagine going in there, even if you could say, well, why were they in there in the first place? And seeing dead babies and body parts, and now you're in an abortion in the middle of it. Now, what are these girls doing today? What is their mental state? They're walking zombies all through society, every ethnicity. Abortion is hurting us deeply. And now we're hearing from Gardner, who has studied this and has founded an organization to work in pro-life to try to get this horrible crime against humanity out of our society. And she's witnessed to his family members up on stage, Dr. Gosnell, because they've caught him. And I remember, a year or so ago when this first hit the news, that they were some of the people, the establishment, those that are pro-choice, and yet they're in big places in government and in law enforcement, were trying to find a way to make it only about the woman. I don't have all the details, and as we unfold this story continuously on Fridays, we need to bring the details exactly. But they were trying to way to make it separate it out from the whole abortion issue, so that they wouldn't be exposed. It might be why there's such a blackout in the national news. It's like we have a dilemma there. This is not like you were mentioning earlier, Casey Peterson, Anthony, and all the rest of these stories that they can go endlessly on about, when you find children that have been killed. What they found were body parts, so they couldn't separate the two. And so they ended up having to go into court, make an arrest and plea bargain and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, death penalty state. People started spilling their guts. And so, Day, you were telling me that, his family is on the witness stand just callously and just matter-of-factly saying, well, here's what happened.
His family, and we have to keep in mind, too, that there are other people who are called Dr. Massoff Steve, Dr. Steve, another woman called Dr. I think her name is Emily or whatever. But the thing is, they are not even doctors. They are some people who have some basic medical training. They may have gone to medical school at some point, but they're not licensed doctors.
They're not licensed doctors. But yet they're dragging our pro-life centers and anyone there through the mud and through all types of hoops and details to make sure that even if they just do an ultrasound, they have all of these letters behind their name and all this training. The
Yeah.
hypocrisy of the left. And I'm telling you, that's why I read the other day, Psalm 10. I'm telling you, they're wicked. These
They
liberals are
are.
wicked.
Yeah,
But
they
go
are.
ahead.
You know, the thing is that we have to keep in mind also that I thought it was really interesting. There was another worker, Sherry West, who was on the stand, and she said, and this really got me. She was saying that she saw a baby that was placed into a glass pan. And the thing is that this baby, she said that baby, the eyes were closed, and she said it wasn't perfectly formed or anything, but she heard this child screeching.
Aww.
She said like an alien. And I'm thinking,
Aww.
how could you say, the mouth wasn't perfectly formed, and she heard this baby screeching? We have to understand that these are children born alive.
Right.
These are viable children born alive. She even went further to say this baby couldn't have been any more than 18 to 24 inches. My son was 19 and a half inches when he was born.
My little grand Miss Naomi.
19 and a half inches.
Oh.
But obviously this child was in pain, and she heard the screeching, and she said she called these babies, she didn't call them fetuses even, or embryos or whatever. People always try to think of these other names for babies, no matter how big they are. She said she called them specimens because it was easier for her to deal with mentally and emotionally. So she called a child, no matter how big, when it came out, it was a specimen. We have to understand he killed viable children who were going to be born in just a few short weeks, could be born. And he killed these children by cutting their necks. One child was even cut, their throat was cut.
Oh, my God.
He even joked about some of these children. One child was so big, he said, that it was big enough to walk around the block with him or walk to the bus stop with him. He joked about these things. These are children, and he knew what he was doing. This is not just a case of, when you think about any abortion, it's just a horrible thing. From the very moment of conception, I am pro-life all the way through and through, as I know that you are, Star. But the thing is that these are children who just, they were going to be born in a few weeks.
That there's no excuse. And people say,
It's
well,
infanticide.
And most people think that Roe v. Wade is the first couple of weeks, it's still just a blah.
Yeah.
But Dobie Bolton took it all the way to the 9th month, 9th hour.
Yeah.
And we do have opportunities to pass legislation that stops viable children from getting killed. But you have people that are in the political arena who don't want that to happen.
Well,
Barack Obama was one of them.
Barack Obama is right up there with the worst of the worst. But, look at Florida legislation. They debated a bill, the H1129, the H1129 bill to protect infants born alive from abortion. Okay, now in Florida, Planned Parenthood argued that if a woman goes in for an abortion, no matter what age the baby is, they should have a right to kill that baby in a botched abortion. If the baby's born alive, Planned Parenthood believes that child should be killed, should be allowed to gasp for life. On an abortion table. So the thing is,
just the fact that they call them botched abortion.
Yeah.
Do you all understand what that means? When you hear that term botched abortion, what they're saying is we tried to kill this child and it got by. For some reason, God wanted that child to take a first breath. I don't know why it is. I'm trying to kill this child and that kid won't die. And so they're passing bills and say, well, don't kill it now. And Planned Parenthood said, no, kill it now. Barack Obama signs off to legislation and said, no, kill it now.
Yeah.
Peter Sanger, so-called professor of ethics at Princeton University, says, actually, I think parents should have up to 2 years to decide whether that child is viable, so kill it now.
How crazy.
And you're telling me we should keep doing this? And that we should say, well, it's just settled law? That we should say in the political, well, why are you all still talking about abortion? Don't you, this is a divisive issue. Are you sure we should bring it up? Mm-hmm. And the thing about Day, and especially what you're saying about the regulations there, I bet you 50 cents that this is not an exception to the rule.
Of course.
I bet you if we could get into these abortion clinics, we will find a whole lot of Kermit Gosnells.
Happening all over the country, all over the world even. But the sad thing is that this is one of those things that the media especially should be blasting everywhere. We have heard anytime a child loses his life, any child abused, missing, tortured in any way, any woman, we hear about that. We should hear about it. We think about the Kaylee Anthony, the little girl who died. My heart broke for her to be buried in a shallow grave and killed, we believe, by her mother. Look at Lacey Peterson and her beautiful son Connor, who was killed when his mother was carrying him at 8 months. But those are horrible things. But they were also, the media gave them a lot of attention. The Casey Anthony case ran 169 days in court. The court case was 169 days. Lacey and Connor case, Peterson in California, was 175 days in court. Right. And they're saying that this court case will take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, really? Are you kidding me?
30 years of killing perhaps up to 16,000 children, many of whom were born alive, and he sliced their throat, sliced their back. 30 days. But
where's the media, though?
But where's the media? But you told me something else that just brought me to tears. That's when I first had to bring out my hanky, and that's when you said you did everything you could to get out of D.C. to get to Philadelphia so that you can get into the courtroom, thinking that you were running late, thinking that you wouldn't get a seat, and you walk in, and how many people were there?
Actually, in a courtroom that held about 125, 150 people, 6 people, and 3 of them were from the media. They were all white except for me, so I was the only black person there. And there was one of the news reporters came over and said, "You know what? You're the first black pro-lifer I've seen in this courtroom." I'm looking around thinking, I'm not going to get a seat. I'm going to have to stand up in the back somewhere, trying to rush to get there on time. I got there like 9:15. It starts at 9 o'clock. I thought I got to get there because I got to get a seat. And you realize I could have sat anywhere at all because there was nobody there.
But when other court cases, people are wrapped around the block when they think that injustice has been done. Mm-hmm. We have major churches in Philadelphia who, of course, knows this news because although the left did everything they could to contain it and make sure that it didn't make the front pages, because of the prestige of some of these so-called doctors, it did make the front page of a couple of local papers when the arrests occurred and other things. And we're talking about people that are part of the community. And so arrests were made and it made the paper. Are you seeing any pastors? I mean, I know churches there. I know pastors there. I know communities of people there that we even work with. Are they not informed, or is it just they don't know that the trial is going on, that they're not filling up?
I think a lot of people just don't know the trial has gone on. I think that a lot of people may feel like I did. It's going to be packed. I'm not going to get a seat. I wonder. And I know that, Star, you said that you'll also help to get the word out in Philadelphia.
We need to get people there because you're saying the trial. When did the trial begin?
It's been going on now for about 3 weeks.
So we only have about 3 weeks, according to them, if we don't make some noise about this. So if they wrap up, and the challenge for the prosecution, if you will, is that they've interjected race into it, that they would not be going after. The defense has interjected. Tell us a little bit about that.
The defense came out and said, you know what, this is a public lynching of this man, this doctor. It's a lynching. And to equate it, and that really irked me because basically, and of course, Dr. Alveda King, my dear friend, also, we put out a press release about the fact that this has nothing to do, this is not a lynching of this man. This is a man who killed children. Right. This is what he does. He infanticide. He's a murderer. And it's nothing like that. And we really went up against the defense attorney, who is McMahon. I forget his first name, but his last name is McMahon. About this, because he was the one that tried to inject race into it to say this is a racial thing because this doctor is black. And the thing is that the only thing that makes it a racial thing is that this black doctor decided to prey on his own community to the black. It's a black on black crime again. Wow. In the inner city. Wow. It's the same thing.
And it's just, and to a major degree. I mean, we're not talking about 1 or 2 children. So let's get into what we can do. We're going to talk about this and always give an update throughout the trial and try to keep it alive and even maybe get some mainstream media attention. This is something that all Americans should be concerned about, particularly the church community. I mean, if you're a Christian person, and in particular, if you're post-abortive, if you yourself bought that lie, and you might be grieving now even over your own child, and you need to get into one of our help centers. We have crisis pregnancy centers all over the country. Just Google CareNet, Google Heartbeat, and they'll lead you to they have an option line, and they'll lead you to the closest people to you. We're in every single community now. There's somebody there that'll help you, love you, walk you through it. And get you activated. What the new slogan for Silent No More is an amazing organization of women who said, I can't be silent anymore. It's eating me inside, but I'm going to get into the part of the scripture that says that, when I confess my fault, I get healed. And we have to get to that point sometimes. It's the secret sin. So many have bought it. So many have ignored it, and now it's eating us up alive from the inside out to allow so-called doctors like Gosnell to get away with this horrible crime and all of these crimes that he has committed. So if you're one that needs help, get it. Get the help. We have the help. Call me. Tweet me at Star Parker, and I will make sure that you're in touch with Karen and or Heartbeat. You Urban Cure Me. Just say, Star, I heard you, and I got to get help. I can't get free. We have freedom. There's freedom. Honest, there is. I know it firsthand. Facebook me, Star Parker for freedom. You might not want to Facebook me because you're telling on yourself. But you need to get healing. You need to get help, and help is there. God will forgive you. He already has, actually. He forgave you when he went to that cross. He knew then. So he already has, but now you have to connect with that. But we also need activists. Those of you that say, I didn't do that. I have nothing to do with that. That blood is on your hands. Because we have allowed this to go forever. That's the same excuse they had during slavery. Well, I didn't own any slaves. Yeah, you're right. By 1950, less than 2% of Americans owned slaves. And it tore our nation apart, and still is. We look back at that point in history and say, why? What happened? We look back at that point in the Holocaust and say, what? How did we ignore this? Well, we're ignoring this. It's our fault that Gosnells get by. Because we've let them turn this into a political issue, and you don't have enough people who will speak up. And we need people to speak up. Dave, we only have a couple of minutes here. I want you to tell them how to get in touch with you so that those that want to become activists, those that say, I can help, I want to do something, you can help our organization financially. If you can't do anything else, if you can't get out to Philadelphia and fill up that courtroom. Because I'll tell you, if we filled up that courtroom and they had thousands of blacks circling the corners outside of that courtroom, media couldn't ignore it.
Amen.
They're ignoring this trial. And they'll let it go on away, and he might even do some jail time. All the rest of them are going to do some jail time. And just be some more brothers in the jails. And we can have a conversation about whether brothers in the jail should be in the jails. And then when jails get overcrowded, then we're going to let some out. This is crazy. If the foundations are destroyed, what are you righteous going to do? How do they reach you? What's your website?
It's www.nationalblackprolifeunion.com. And I love what you said, Star, that this is not the unforgivable sin, that God loves you, can even forgive this. But he also says, go and sin no more.
That's right.
Yeah. Amen.
Bless you, young lady. And I'm telling you that we're going to be excited about you being here with us every single Friday on Inside the Beltway with Star Parker here on Urban Family Talk.